Thursday, June 24th, 2010. This is the Hermetic Hour, and I'm your host, Poke Runyon. Tonight we're presenting a lecture on Hermetic Yoga. Now, this is probably one of the most important things that we've done in all of our 40 years of recovering and developing magic. And this Western version of the tantric system is really something that we've needed here in the West for a long time. And frankly, it was rather amazing to me after I had this revelation in 1975 to start this thing and start doing it based upon the lightning flash of the Tree of Life. I couldn't understand for quite a while why we didn't have a thing like this and why we weren't able to do this. And finally, I have finally gotten to where I finally realized why it's taken the West so long to get to this. Now, in order for you to understand a little better what this is all about, I'm going to read the introduction to our course here on this, and this way we'll sort of set the matter in perspective here. The practical application of Hermetic Magical Yoga, or Western Tantric Yoga as it might also be called, is a fairly recent development. It sprang forth full-armed, like Athena from the brow of Zeus, in 1975. And yet, we must admit that all the key elements, the theories and the practices subsequently employed in this system, were actually in existence in the Eastern and the Western esoteric schools for the past 400 years. Johann Gitchell gave us a sketch of the proper Western arrangement back in 1696. Now, we should also point out that a full 7 or 11 sphere straight line chakra system is just as essential for full spiritual development as a magical alphabet. Magical alphabets link the magician to the elements of the inner and outer universe through letters, words, formulas, and rituals. But a full chakra system, based upon the Kabbalah of his tradition and linked to his own magical alphabet, gives the magician his greatest inner power. This ultimate development of the magical art has been known in the East for thousands of years. These Oriental chakra systems of the Indian and Tibetan tantric practitioners are the basis and the core of their magical powers. Until recently, we have had no operative construct in the Western traditions that could compare with these Eastern chakra systems. Now, we might ask ourselves why. Well, why didn't Aleister Crowley, Franz Barton, or even Julius Evola, all of whom were familiar with the Indian tantric philosophy and practice, why didn't they come to this obvious conclusion and make the necessary innovations to provide us with our own Western chakra system based upon our own schematic of the universe, the Kabbalistic Tree of Life? Now, actually, one of our adepts in the West actually did this, but he did it in a rather strange and roundabout way. And the individual I'm referring to is Paul Foster Case. And instead of doing the chakra system based upon the spheres, as I personally believe it should have been, he based it on the past. And we'll get into that a little later. The answer, of course, is simply that they didn't know how many different versions of the chakra systems were being practiced in the East. And they believed that the Indian tantric system of Laya Yoga that John Woodruff had outlined in his 1920s classic, The Serpent Power, was virtually universal east of Suez, and Although there were several affinities between the Eastern and Western philosophical constructs, there were enough differences to daunt even the most innovative European magicians at the time. Now, however, in the late 20th century, refugees, lamas from conquered Tibet reached our shores and began to teach selected Western students. I was one of those fortunate Chelas, and I was able to personally confirm what my earlier studies had indicated. The Tibetans often had different chakra systems for each deity that they venerated. And if we take a Tibetan tantric Buddhist perspective, our Western chakra arrangement is no more radical than many of theirs. And for us, it has the obvious advantage of being our own. Another challenge the student of our Western system has to meet is chakra color symbolism. Now, we use the traditional Golden Dawn Minutum Mundum color scales. Phoenician seed letters are in the King scale, and as Phoenician converted from Hebrew, are in the King scale, and the chakra mandalas are in the Queen scale in its reflex colors. Now, these are not scryed colors that clairvoyants have envisioned, but rather magical colors that we consciously impose upon the chakras in accordance with our magical will. Therefore, if a practitioner of another chakra system informs you that your heart chakra is pink, you can smile and say, well, my heart chakra is blue and yellow, and yours could be pink if you want it to be. Now, of course, we're treating this kind of lightly, but it's still very important. If you are going to get the best out of our Western system, you must paint and furnish the inner chambers of your own house in Western style and on a Western spiritual plan. I'm not saying that New Age psychic healers and chakra balancers are all wrong, but they see, sense, and interpret in their own lexicon and in their own subjective symbolism. And it's not necessary for you to adjust your symbolism to theirs in order for their healing and balancing efforts to work on you. And finally, consider that even if they are right and your heart chakra really is pink, you can still program it with blue and yellow regardless of what color it might actually be. Now, the point here, I'll interject into the script here, is that our chakra system is on the astral. It's etheric. The chakra system in the East, the Woodruff system, the serpent power system, that is etheric, and there's quite a difference between the two. Now, this course, of course, also involves creative visualization, and there's a lot of creative visualization that goes into this. Creative visualization means creating, and this is an essential skill that must be mastered in order to activate and empower the chakra system. The primary exponent of such training in relation to magical practice was the European Magus Franz Barden. One of the problems, of course, his students encounter in attempting to work through Barden's program stems from Barden's own clairvoyance. He was a natural psychic, and he did not know how to teach visualization to those lacking such talent. And we'll teach you how to augment Barden's regime with techniques that enable any normal person who is willing to concentrate to master Barden's requirements. But that's down the road. Now, that should give you an inkling of what it is that we're doing here. Let me tell you how this came about. Back in 1975. I was at Northridge, kind of pursuing my eventual master's degree in cultural anthropology that I got from California State University at Northridge in 1980. In 1975, I was walking across the campus and I was thinking about this, and all of a sudden, I don't know whether the sun came out from behind a cloud or what exactly happened, but suddenly it hit me that the lightning flash, the flaming sword that comes down from Kether on the Tree of Life, I think you've all seen this, it comes down like a jagged lightning flash, and it goes right across the three pillars, and it it follows the number sequence of the pillars. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, all the way to the bottom. Now, if this is a sword, a flaming sword, well, it needs to be straightened out. And all you have to do is straighten it out. And once you straighten that out, then you have a straight line. And all of a sudden this hit me. That's it. That's the key to it. We straighten out the flaming sword, and we follow the number sequence, and we have one straight down the spine. And I realized this, and intuitively, I knew that this had to be it. And it was kind of an epiphany, and I that evening I went home and I started diagramming it out. I was working on it. Now, at that time, fortunately for me, at that time, I did not know that Paul Foster Case had done some work on this and had actually gotten he'd actually developed a psychic center system that had been derived from the paths of the Tree of Life, and not the spheres at all. And if you look at the paths of the Tree of Life, you'll see that they have the 7 planets of the Hermetic sequence are on the various paths. So those paths became his sequence. Now, something I have to explain about Paul Case is wonderful work, and he was a very great adept in many ways. But one thing about Paul Case, he was very much influenced by Eliphas Levi, and Eliphas Levi believed that the tarot preceded the Kabbalah. So in Paul Case's mind, the tarot and the tarot correspondences seemed to take precedence in this instance over the spheres. Now, this is probably how he justified doing this. So what he ended up with was Saturn in Malkuth and Mars in Yesod and Jupiter in Hod or Jupiter under the tummy, and his Tippereth was the same. That was in the chest, and that he ended up with a series of planetary analogs on the body that really are not in the classical Hermetic sphere sequence. They don't come down the lightning flash. They don't go back up the tree. They just are not arranged in a sequence that is really usable as the Kundalini would go up. And what I'm trying to drive at here is philosophically, this was not an elegant system. Now, alchemically, it has some merit. It has validity. I didn't know about this. I didn't know that Case had developed this, and I wasn't a member of O.T.A, and they kept this kind of quiet. This wasn't very well known in 1975, at least it wasn't to me. So I just continued to develop our system based upon the spheres. Now, what is really, really philosophically elegant about our system is that it works, if you take the Hermetic idea, as we do, that man is a microcosm of the greater universe, the macrocosm, and if you do this, then the ladder of ascension, the Mithriatic ladder of ascension, the Hermetic and Orphic ladder of ascension goes up through the Hermetic spheres, starting down with Malkuth and ending up at Saturn. And this is the way the soul ascends, shedding its impurities and purifying itself as it ascends. And then when it reincarnates, comes down, and according to the ancient initiatic code, it comes down through the gate of men, Cancer, the gate of men, and it goes down through Saturn and down through Jupiter, and then on down through Mars, and then down, and it picks up these characteristics as it descends until it finally gets down to Earth. And then when you pass on, if you pass on properly, you ascend from Earth through the Moon and on up through Mercury, and then Venus, and then the Sun, and on up, and the same sequence as the Tree of Life and the Kabbalah. And you go on up, and as you go up, you shed these characteristics, you purify yourself, and you attain this wisdom, and when you finally go out through Saturn, then you are a purified soul. Now, this is our ancient philosophy, and this is the Hermetic philosophy that, of course, we have in the Grata Rapoa with the Mithriatic ladder and the whole business. Now, so consequently, our psychic center or chakra system that we developed with the spheres in the sequence, in this philosophical sequence, is very elegant philosophically. And the fact that it's astral rather than etheric gives it its own validity, and separates it from the Hindu or the case alchemical system, and gives it a beautiful philosophical relevance. I didn't know, as I said, I didn't know about the case system, but then when I discovered the case system, I realized, well, gee, why did they do it this way? And then I had to really dig in and try to figure it out, why they did. And so once I did, I began to realize that, yes, that system has validity. I'm not saying that those people who practice that system should give it up or anything like that. It has validity, but it doesn't. What it doesn't do is give you this tremendous power that you get from drawing down, right down the lightning flash, like Falcon did with the middle pillar. In fact, the middle pillar was one of the things that sort of got me on this track. Now, you know what the middle pillar exercise is. I think most of you do. It was a Golden Dawn exercise. I believe Falcon developed it, where you stand up, you draw that power from Kether down, right on down through Tippereth in your chest, and you draw it right down through your sword and your genitals down to Malkuth and your feet, and then you bring it back up, and you bring it back up, and you center it in Tippereth. It's called the middle pillar exercise, and it's a very powerful exercise. I have since found out that from some of my friends who are familiar with the case system, that Paul Foster Case did not like the middle pillar at all. I can understand why he didn't, because the middle pillar was a pre-stage of something that as I say, eventually I had that realization. It was because I had probably done the middle pillar several times and realized that this was the key to developing the full system. Now, one of the things I want to point out about this system of ours, that another one of the things that differentiates it from the Eastern systems, is that they don't bring power down from above. They don't use these four dimensions that we use. They don't deal so much with these emanations. Their idea is to bring the Kundalini, or that body spirit, the serpent power, that the Taoists call Qi, to bring this up from the perineum and the genital region, the perineum, bring that up, and bring it up the spine, and then finally bring it all the way up to Sahasraram, and then have the enlightenment occur. Well, this works, and it works very, very well, but they don't bring the power down first from above, which we do. We bring our power down from way up, bring it down in the absolute dimension, and then bring it back up in Bria, and then open up in Yetzirah, and open up our chakras in Yetzirah. So ours is you might say, a kind of a double whammy. Now you have to have this in the right sequence, in this spherical sequence, to make this really work. So you can see that for meditational purposes, and especially for a magical operation, this really is the way to go. And like, for instance, we use this system, and we use this ritual in magical operations all the time. What we'll do is we'll have a preliminary meditation in the common room. We'll all get down, and then we'll activate the sphere within ourselves that we're going to operate in. We'll carry that with us in the temple. When we do the septagram ritual, the operator will do it again, and he will activate that sphere within himself, and then he will project it with the septagram ritual around the circle to open the sphere. We use this constantly, and then we have our own master ritual meditation that we do. Now, one of the things that is very, very important about this is that each one of these chakras, or we call them psychic centers, and they use, in the East, they use a lotus symbolism. We use a rose symbolism here in the West. But one of the things that we do, that they do, is that we have our own Phoenician gods and goddesses in each appropriate planetary sphere or chakra. They live in there, and they live inside you. So as you're in meditation and you go up into each one of these chakras in sequence, you can visit with with the goddess Tanit, and you can go on up and you can visit Kusor, the blacksmith, who's also called Tubal-Cain, and he can make things for you, and then you can go up and visit the goddess Astarte, and go up and into Tiphereth, visit Baal and his brother Mot, and then up to Anath in the throat, the warrior goddess, and she can give you all kinds of counsel and probably tell you what you don't want to hear, but and then on up to Hesed, which is the third eye. That's Jupiter, and that's our third eye chakra. And there's Dagon, who is the alien fish god from Sirius, and he's the one with he's Capricorn, actually. He is the master of celestial wisdom, and he also enables you to astral project through your third eye. And then this is important with our system. In our system, we use an 11-sphere tree, the tree before the fall, in which Da'ath is Saturn. Now, this doesn't disturb the numerical sequence at all, because in our system, Kether then becomes 0, and Saturn is Da'ath. Now, this makes Chokmah and Binah the more properly in Bria, the realm, the primal mobile, the realm of the fixed stars, and so the beginning of the Hermetic universe, Saturn, is right in the center of your head, and that's the Da'ath, that's the going in and the going out point. And so when we bring our power down, we bring it down, and we use our Amashao or Shama'ata formula, and that's the 3 mother letters. Those mother letters cross just like the cube of space into Saturn, inside the head, and then to the third eye, then down to the throat, and then down to Tiphereth, and then on down, and then back up with the archangels in Bria. Now, I'll demonstrate this just if you can close your eyes and get an idea of how this works. We're sitting in an asana. We're looking up behind our closed eyes, way, way up, and we see a bright light, and we bring that down. We bring that bright light down, that bright white light down into us with the and then when we say Harima, then the zodiac is all around us like a hat band. Harima, and then Shamata, those three lines, the red line, the blue line, and the yellow line, all cross in Saturn, and that's Shama, and then Tau is Saturn. Ta, and then over to the third eye, El, and then we drop down to the throat, Elohim Yavor, and then we drop down to the chest, Amasho, and then down, Amasho, Zabel, Elohim Zabel, Shaddai, Tai, Adonai, Haaretz. And then we come back up in Bria. And we come down in Absolute, get back up in Bria. Sandalphan, Gombril. Now, when we do Sandalphan, the Taoists wouldn't like this, but in order to kick loose what the Hindus call the Kundalini, the Taoists call Chi, and whatever, you pinch your butt together, you pinch your butt together and shoot it up your spine. Now that's as I say, a Taoist master would hit you with a stick if you did that. But this is a quick way to do it. Sandalphan, Gabriel, Michael, Hanael, Raphael. Now we're in Tiphereth. Now, one of the keys to doing this? One of the keys to doing this is a Tibetan technique that we use quite a bit, and that is making your body very, very big. You got to make your body very, very big, and there's a couple of tricks to doing this. One of the ways to make yourself very, very big, or imagine yourself very, very big, is to keep looking upward inside your closed eyes. You keep looking up, and then you imagine yourself to be around 50 feet tall. Now, if you do this way, you can move back and forth inside your body. You can move down, all the way down to your tailbone, and you're going to be able to get down there because you're 50 feet tall. So that's easy to do. So you can move back and forth and into these psychic centers. But it's important that you keep your physical eyes behind your closed eyelids looking up as you do this, and be sure and sit with your back straight. Now, when you do this and you enter these inner worlds, this really, really gives you the power to transform yourself. The gods are all yours. Now, obviously, some of you are thinking, well, oh, yeah, I think I'd rather use the Egyptian gods. Well, you're welcome to do that if you want to, but actually, the Phoenician pantheon works a lot better with the Kabbalah than the Egyptian pantheon does. You can make an analog, but it's going to be kind of arbitrary, but you go ahead and do it. And of course, you can also, if you wanted to, you could put a Celtic pantheon on there if you want. Or if you're more Christian, Judeo-Christian inclined, you could put the angels in there, and that would work. But you do, I think you really should personify inside the chakras. Have a palace in there and visit it. I do, and I know I just, this is one of the things I really look forward to, is consulting with my my brain trust. I mean, this is my little heavenly family, and I've got them all in there, and I talk to them, and they talk to me, but they only talk to me when I do this. I mean, they aren't whispering to me all the time. I don't allow that to happen, and yet. This gives you a tremendous resource. It gives you a terrific feeling of personal power, and you've created your own universe inside yourself. I think one of the things that is important about celestial magic and its relationship to this inner magic is that the whole Hermetic proposition is that you are the universe. This is your universe. You see the universe. You perceive the universe, and it's your universe. And so the more you can connect with it, and the more you can make it yours, the more you are on the road to enlightenment. Now, one of the things that I would like to point out in the course of doing this here is that the Tibetans, they differ to some degree from the Hindu concept. The Hindus believe that everything is Brahman, and Brahman is not illusion. But the Tibetans would say that even Brahman is illusion. So the Tibetans are not concerned so much with having a consistent structure. So they change their psychic center system. Each deity, and I've had 8 different tantric initiations, and you don't find out what the chakra systems are until you have the initiation. They don't put those in the books. But then when you take the initiations, you realize that each one of these psychic center systems for each one of these deities is different. So whereas in the Hindu systems, they pretty much stay with that Laya Yoga system. And yet, and in the Taoist procedure, now the Taoists have what they call a microcosmic orbit, which is very, very interesting. You can experiment with that, and we've learned a few things from them. One of the things I told you were this business of when you're sitting straight up, and you can pinch your tail together, and but then if you put your tongue in the back of your mouth, way back up in your soft palate, you can run that jolt of electricity right up your spine, and it'll come right down through your tongue, and you can bring it right on down. So that's one that we've adopted from them, and it works out very, very well. Another thing that we have, of course, is a magical note. A musical note for every one of these chakras. Now, it's nice to have a set of tuning forks. You can get very elaborate with sound, and people who are really into magical sound have an elaborate set of notes that they use. You could even use a monochord, that's one of the one-string instrument that Pythagoras is supposed to have developed. What it does, you keep dividing or increasing the note by half, and it becomes a mathematical progression. Actually, I'm as I said, I don't say I've got a tenure, but I'm really not a musician. However, what we've done with our system is that we've just simply got it down to Malkuth down at the bottom is a low C, and Yesod coming up in the genitals is a D, and Mercury right below the belly button is an E, and Venus in the solar plexus is an F, and we got G in Tippereth, and A and Mars in the throat, and B and Jupiter in the third eye, and a high C for Saturn. And I'm sitting here with a set of tuning forks in my lap, and I don't know. I don't know whether I could juggle these and the microphone and everything else at the same time. But this does help going up the scale. Now, let me go down the scale again from Kether. And then we'll come down an Absolute, and Kether is Ahia, and then Ia, and that's Ma, and then Ayima, and that's the realm of the fixed stars now. You know, this is, well, we're working on 11 sphere retreat, so this is no longer Saturn. This is the realm of the fixed stars. Haima. And then into Saturn, it's Shamatha. Now, I want to explain that for a moment. We use what might be called a generic tetragrammaton. Now, Sha, Ma, Ta, these are the three mother letters of the Sefer Yetzirah, the three letters of the elements, and Tau, which is Saturn. Now, one of the shortcomings of the Hebrew Kabbalah, which Gershom Shalom admitted to, was that they had no letter for Earth. Now, we do in our magical alphabet, we put omega at the end of our Phoenician alphabet, and Tau, of course, equals 400. We put omega in there equaling 800 because we wanted to be able to complete that formula for various reasons. However, in this particular case, we use the three letter and Tau tetragrammaton because that enables us to use the three mother letters, just like the cube of space, those of you who are familiar with the cube of space construction. So this is a very elegant way to start our little universe right in the center of the head. By the way, that is also a terrific technique for centering your consciousness or moving your consciousness. This is something that a number of people have discovered. You can find a version of it in Pick a Tricks. I understand L. Ron Hubbard used a version of it. The idea is of establishing a cross in the middle of a box or a room. Let's say you're sitting in a room and you establish this line across and the line across like wires, and then where they meet in the center, that's where you can locate your consciousness, and this can be very, very effective. You can move your consciousness using this same technique. So this is where we start our universe using this cube of space technique, and then we go on down into the third eye, El, and then we go down into Gabor in the throat, Elohim Gabor, and then Amashoah Alawava, and that is for Tippereth. Now Amashao is our tetragrammaton with omega at the end. That's Ma Sha O. That's easy to visualize itself because you use the three mother letters that you visualize, then put a big omega around them. Now, a word about this tetragrammaton. A lot of golden daughters, and I think there are even some Thelemites and all that. No, not too many Thelemites, but a lot. The golden daughters use YHVH, And we did for years and years. We kept using it. We didn't think it was, you can do a lot of good gematria with YHVH, and it's sort of in the traditional tetragrammaton. But, then one year, I guess it was about 15, almost 20 years ago, we had a whole dozen or so of Sephardic Jewish folks out to one of our seasonals in Pasadena, and we were getting along with them fine, and everything was just going along great. And they were out around the circle, and they were having a grand time. And then the deacon got out there in the middle of the circle in the henge and started to do a pentagram ritual. And he intoned, Yod-Hey-Waw-Hey. And these folks marched out. They were gone. That was it. They just marched right out of the circle, and they were gone. And I sat there, and of course we continued with the ceremony, and I thought, wait a minute, what's going on here? And then I realized, hey, we stole their God, and they didn't like it. And I got to thinking about it, and I thought, well, gee whiz, I'm not Jewish, and I'm not Christian, I'm Hermetic. What are the dickens are we stealing these folks' God for? If they really feel like it's it's theirs, why should we steal it? And then I got to looking at the Kabbalah, and I realized, well, come on now, you don't really need it. If you look at the Sefer Yetzirah, they didn't even have it when the Sefer Yetzirah was written. That was AD 300. It was YAH, and that they didn't have a YHVH at that time. And the three mother letters actually form, they create the universe in the center of the cube of space, just like we have it in the end. That's a creative tetragrammaton. And so from then on, I decided, hey, I don't want to steal somebody else's God. So that's why we've used Shema O.T.A or Amashao as our version of the tetragrammaton. But I don't mind if somebody, if you want to use our yoga system and put YHVH back in it, that's fine. I don't have anything against that. It's just that I don't like stealing somebody else's God. So anyway, when you come back up, and you're coming back up from the bottom up, you're coming back up in Bria. We come back down, and we come down in Absolute, we come back up in Bria, and it's Sandalphon, and that's the Earth Angel, and that activates the Kundalini. We like to use a dragon. We like the idea of having this dragon down there in a cave, and we send the dragon flying on up. That's a little more Western than the snake, I think. Gabriel is the archangel for the moon, and we get up into the lunar palace, and Tanit, the moon goddess, is in there, and she has a crystal in her lap, and her hand behind it with the eye of fate shining through it. And that is very oracular, because the moon is the sphere of memory and dreams, and so you can use Tanit's crystal to see the future or the past or whatever. And then you get on up into Hod, and which is ruled by the archangel Michael. And there, that's the realm of the blacksmith Kusor, who is also Tubal-Cain in the Bible. And this blacksmith shop, this is where all kinds of creativity goes on. Now, interestingly enough, this is the Tibetan Tumo Center, so there's certainly an analog there. And I visited Kusor so many times, and every time I visit him, he either tries to get me to work on a project that he's outlined, or he comes up with a new project, and I come, of course, when I get done with my meditation, I always write his his ideas down, and some of them I've gone ahead and done. Some of them have been very good, but he's full of all kinds of creative ideas. And then Astarte. Now, in our system, Astarte is like Tara in the Tibetan system. We're the Order of the Temple of Astarte. Astarte represents the entire world, the entire physical world, as far as we're concerned. And she's about 50 feet tall and sort of translucent, and she sits in a sauna in a pool of living water, and you can kind of see her psychic centers inside her glowing as jewels. And oh boy, I got inside Astarte one time and sort of had an almost sexual experience being inside a 50-foot goddess while I was doing my meditation. That was really something. And Tifereth, of course, is the sphere of transformation, and that we have a pyramid there, and inside the pyramid, Baal sits on his throne, and Mot, his brother, who is the Lord of Death, is right there behind him. Mot is we play him as the Grim Reaper in our seasonal ceremonies, but actually he's a rather sad but a rather kind and understanding fellow, actually. And then up in Gomorrah, this is where you find the palace, or the castle, really, the castle of the war goddess Anath. And she's the goddess of justice, actually. And she is the one, she's like your drill sergeant. She's like, and she has no mercy. If you've done anything, if you aren't doing the right thing, she'll tell you about it. And one thing I'll share with you that you won't find, I think, anywhere else, is that Anath, in the ancient Canaanite legends, she has a necklace of human skulls or human heads and a girdle of human hands, just like the Eastern Dakinis and wrathful goddesses do. So there's really definitely a very ancient connection there. But you know what those mean? Those severed heads are your past lives, and those severed hands around her waist, those are your past deeds. So that's one of the secrets of Anath. Now, when you get up to into the third eye and into Hesed, which is Jupiter, that's, in our tradition, that's the realm of Dagon, and Dagon is the fish god. He is the amphibian, and we see him as having come down from Sirius and being the teacher Oannes, and he's the alien teacher, and he's very, very wise, and he instructs you. And what he will do, if you've gotten a lot of different ideas from the rest of your pantheon, and they've been filling you full of all kinds of things they want done or they were suggesting, Dagon will kind of put it in perspective. Now, the way I see Dagon is he's an amphibian. He's in a tank. He's a beautiful amphibian with a third eye, and he swims in this tank, and he's back in the back of the chamber, and you have the third eye like a lens in front of him, and you're standing there, and you can put your head up in the glass, and he will communicate with you telepathically. And this, then of course on to Saturn, and that's something we're not going to get into right now, because that's kind of a Western version of O.T.A, and so we stay away from Saturn, except for inner order work. Now, one thing I'd like to do before we finish tonight, I'd like to try with you an exercise, just to give you kind of a feeling about how this works. And this is a preparatory exercise that we call, and I have it, by the way, I have it outlined in the Book of Solomon's Magic. And speaking of that, you can see a demonstration and see some graphics and a demonstration of Hermetic Yoga in our video, The Rites of Magic, our DVD, which you can get from Amazon, and then our distributor, Reality Entertainment's putting it out with that new cover that Lauren has posted on several websites. That's going to be out in the occult shops pretty shortly. And this, we have Sister Argaya gives a beautiful demonstration of how to do the mudras, and then we have the artwork that goes along with this. And we have a whole yoga sequence in that video. You might want to look at that. Now let's try this. Let's see if we can't be a little interactive here. Let's try this sinking pearl exercise. And what this will do, if you'll go along with me on this, what this will do is give you an idea of how to move in your body, and how to sink into your body, and how to empty your mind, and just give you just the first kind of feelings of this thing. Now what I'd like you to do is to sit up straight, close your eyes. I want you to look up behind your closed eyelids and imagine yourself as getting larger and larger. You're getting taller and taller, bigger and bigger. You're getting bigger. You're 10 feet tall. You're 15 feet tall. Now you're 20 feet tall. Getting larger and larger. Your whole inside of your head is empty. It's gloomy inside, and it's half filled with dark, warm water. And that warm water fills your whole body, and it's all the way up to halfway up into the vault of your head, and you're getting bigger and bigger. And now you're 30 feet tall, and your head is very, very big, and it's half full of this dark water that goes all the way down, as far down as your bottom, and your consciousness is floating right in the middle of that pool of dark water in the middle of your head. Your consciousness is floating right there like a pearl. It's like a little pearl, and it's half submerged and half up. Now, there are fireflies, little fireflies, flitting back and forth in the vault of your head, in that dim-lit vault of your head there. They're flitting back and forth. And those fireflies are your thoughts. They're your random thoughts. And they're flitting back and forth. And your eyes are still looking upward. And now I want you to sink under that warm water. You sink under it a little bit, and you can still see those fireflies kind of flitting up there. So let's sink down a little further, and let's go down. Let's sink down about to the level of your chin. And now you can't see those fireflies floating up there. It's all dark, and you're down about the level of your chin. So let's sink on down. Let's sink on down to your throat, and on down. It's getting darker and darker, but it's very comfortable, and it's very warm, and you're going down and down. Let's sink all the way down to your chest. All the way down to your chest. We're down there. Very comfortable and quiet and very dark. And now let's go on down to your solar plexus. And let's go down past your navel. And all the way down to your bottom. Now you're down there, and it's dark, and it's comfortable, and you're not thinking about anything. Now you're at peace. Now let's come back up very slowly. Come back up to your navel. Come back up, up and up. Up to your solar plexus, up to your chest. On up to your throat. And on up to where you pop out into that vault in your skull, and there are no fireflies flitting around. And no thoughts. You're just there, floating in the center of that vault in your skull. And everything is peaceful, and you're not thinking about anything. And now, you may very, very, very slowly diminish in size back to your regular size. Move your eyes back to level and return to consciousness and wake up. Now, you see, it's pretty easy, actually, to move your consciousness around. And it's easy to empty your mind when you know how to do it. And the next step, of course, is do a little pranayama and a little mantra, and pretty soon you're into tantric yoga. Now, what we've covered tonight, we've covered the basics of the tantric yoga system, and we mentioned that the difference between the etheric-plane Hindu tantric system, and we talked about the Tibetan variations. We talked about the Kundalini. We mentioned the Taoist procedure. We differentiated the etheric Hindu system and our astral arrangement, which follows the lightning flash. And we talked about the philosophical importance of the Western arrangement compared to the Eastern system, and the alchemical correspondences, of course. And we mentioned that our system, our chakra system, based upon the spheres of the tree of life, is philosophically very important, and we discussed the origin of the system. We mentioned the Golden Dawn's middle pillar, and we talked about the development of the 11 sphere tree. And we did demonstrate mantras and affirmations, and we sure did manage to cover a lot, I think. So, next week, Hermetic Kabbalah. And so be sure and tune in next week for Hermetic Kabbalah and find out how it differs from other kinds of Kabbalah. So we'll see you then, and good magic.